Welcome back to the Self-Starter Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Lauren. Today I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about pricing strategies for wedding photographers. There's 3 separate areas we're going to talk about today. Really excited to dive into that. But before we start, I want to talk about a free 30-page PDF guide that I've just created. It's called the Full-Time Photographer's Playbook. So it's exactly how it sounds. It's if you have a wedding photography business or you're wanting to start a wedding photography business, but you're still in the side hustle phase, you're not fully broken free from your 9-to-5 job, or maybe you don't have a job currently and you're wanting to take your business full-time. This guide is specifically for you. I'm going to leave a link for it in the description. You can download it absolutely free, and it is my exact roadmap, my playbook, if you will, of how I finally quit my 9-to-5 job and went full-time in my business and was very successful. So cannot wait for you to get your hands on this guide, download it below. And let's get back to the episode. All right, so today we're talking about pricing strategies for wedding photographers. We're going to talk about 3 different areas. So first, we're going to talk about package setup, so how to set up your packages. Second, we're going to talk about where to display your packages on your website, or if you even should do that. And the third thing we're going to talk about is after inquiry communication. So what should go on in the email contact when someone reaches out to you. So the first thing, how should you set up your packages? This is a question I hear a lot from beginning photographers, and I was definitely in that boat when I first started out. I did not know how to set up my packages. I got a lot of guidance from a well-known educator in the space, and she told me to set up only one photography package, an 8-hour package with a second shooter, an engagement session, classic package, and only offer that one package to clients. And so that's what I did for the longest time. And I was really strict about it. I really did not accept things that were lower than 8 hours. And I was hesitant to accept things higher than 8 hours. But it honestly didn't work for me. And that is not to say that it might not work for you. Again, everyone's business is different. And so right now I'm really just talking through what's worked in my business, and your business might be totally different based on where you are, how long you've been in business, your experience level, your equipment, your ideal client. Like, so many different things can affect this. So definitely take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and customize it to fit your business needs, and also just try different things out and know that you can change your mind and change things up if it's not working. So personally, I did not like the one package mentality. I didn't think it served my clients super well, but there are some pros to it. So I'm going to go over the pros and cons of the one package situation, and then we're also going to talk about having multiple packages. So for the one package situation, the pros are that it is very simple. It's really, really easy to understand. There's a lot less confusion, and showing your client that you're the expert is really apparent, because if you have just one package and you're like, this is it, this is what I do, then it's going to be pretty straightforward to your client that you are the expert and that you know what is best to include in this one package, because that's all you offer. So those are the pros. The cons that I see, though, it can seem like you're a little rigid and not accommodating. So I actually ran into this problem a lot. There were people that wanted me for like an elopement, or older couples that didn't really want an engagement session or didn't want a second shooter. And so I wasn't accommodating to them. I wasn't really meeting them where they were and seeing their needs. Now, there's also another side to this. Now, if you decide like, hey, that's not my ideal client, I don't want to serve elopement couples, I don't want to serve couples that just need 2 hours, then that's totally fine. That's your prerogative, and maybe one package might actually work really well for you. But for me, it just wasn't working. One package can also be more likely that people will write you off. So if they see that you only offer one package when you send them your pricing, they might be like, oh, well, she might not be willing to, add in things. She might not be willing to change things up, make them flexible for me. So that's another con for just having one package. Now let's go to multiple packages. So the pros for having multiple packages, this is what I currently do in my business. I have 3 packages. I have a 5-hour package, I have a 8-hour package, and I have a 10-hour package. They are priced accordingly. Now my 5-hour package is very, very basic, does not include a second shooter, does not include engagement sessions, pretty much just for elopements and people that just don't really want a ton of photography on their wedding day. That's totally fine. My 8-hour package, you guessed it, is my most booked package. It's my most popular package. And that includes 8 hours, a second shooter, and an engagement session. And my 10-hour package is 10 hours. It also includes everything the 8-hour package includes, but then also a bridal session. And if you're not in the South, a bridal session is basically a time for the bride to try on all her attire and to try on like her, dress, her get her bouquet, like a bouquet made for her, get her hair done, her makeup done, and then basically try it out and get photos made. And a lot of times in the South, they will display a photo at the reception of the bride from the bridal portrait session. So that's what my 10-hour package includes. I think that having multiple packages is the best way to go, but we're going to start with the cons because I definitely want to admit there are some potential downsides to having multiple packages. So first, having too many options and not communicating them well will definitely deter your clients. So if you have a ton of different packages and they don't even know where to start and they're very confusing and your client is confused, they're just not going to move forward. They're probably going to ghost you. So making sure that even if you do have multiple packages, they're very clear and succinct and explainable and easy to understand is very, very important. We want to limit that decision fatigue as much as possible in our clients. Now, depending on your location and your type of client, you might not be seen as more luxury because a lot of times if it's a luxury option, there's usually just one of them. And so if you're giving them more options, you might not seem as luxury. So people might think that you're like too accommodating. So that could definitely be a con of having multiple packages. Now, let's get into the pros. First of all, it illustrates flexibility and customizability. It's basically showing that you're coming to the client and you're meeting their needs rather than just like focusing on you and your own business. And also, this is the main reason why I think multiple packages is such a good option, specifically having 3, is it lessens that sticker shock. So when someone reaches out to you and they see that maybe your bottom package is $2,000, but then maybe your middle package is $3,500, maybe your top package is $4,200, just throwing those numbers out there. If they see multiple different options, that middle package isn't going to seem as outrageous probably as if you had just sent them that middle package that was for $3,500 and people might be like, oh my gosh, $3,000 for a photographer. Like again, depends on your ideal client, but it could lessen that sticker shock. So those are the reasons that I think having multiple packages is the way to go. Now let's move on to the next thing we're going to talk about, which is how to display pricing on your website. This is a question I hear most often. I want you to kind of go through a thought process with me here. Think about yourself as a customer. What makes the most sense to you? What do you tend to gravitate towards when you're looking online to decide if you're going to buy something or not? Looking online for service providers, what speaks most to you? And I want you to just think about that. So for me personally, if I go to a website and I'm trying to find a price for some service provider, I definitely don't want to be confused or not told anything at all. I probably am not going to reach out if I see a website that doesn't have at least a starting price on the website, because I don't know if they're in my price range, and I also don't like that it's like non-transparent. Also, don't think that having the full pricing guide on the website is a good thing. That will definitely lead to decision fatigue like we talked about earlier, but it also doesn't make you seem like you are valuable because you're just putting the price out there and you're not showing people your value before you're showing them the price, and so that's going to lead to a lot of price shopping. So those two options I don't think are good. I don't think it's good to have no pricing on your website, and I don't think it's good to have all your pricing on your website. There is a happy medium where we can have your starting price and basically just say, this is what my prices start at, or you could opt for an average price. You could say my couples spend an average of X amount of dollars with me for their wedding day. And that gives people a good starting point to know whether or not to reach out to you. Honestly, I think it saves time, helps the both of you decide if you're a good fit even before they reach out. To be quite frank, you don't want someone reaching out to you that has a $1,000 budget if you're a $6,000 photographer. That's just going to waste your time, it's going to waste their time, and it's just going to be annoying, honestly. So I think that having a starting price or an average price can be really, really good and a great way to serve your clients even before they become your clients. Again, I just want to stress that you want to make sure that you're communicating your value to them before price ever comes up in the conversation. So that's why you only want to put a starting or average price on your website, and then make sure that whenever they get your full pricing, you've already talked to them either via email or via phone about the value that you offer and your experience so that they're really excited, and they know that you offer a lot of value, so the prices don't matter as much. They're not just price shopping, they're actually valuing you as a service provider. And that brings us to our last point, which is the after inquiry communication. This is where you can really wow them, show them your value, and then give them your pricing. So make sure that you are showing them that you're worth your prices even before you share your prices. And you also want to make sure that you're showing up as yourself. Especially as wedding photographers, we have brands that are very personal, and so showing up as yourself is really important. I also recommend getting them on the phone. And I don't necessarily mean that you have to get them on the phone before you share pricing. So typically what I do in my business is that I respond to the initial inquiry with an amazing, really warm, heartfelt email, have a couple next steps on there for them, and then I send them my hidden pricing page from my website. It's a direct link to a website page. After I send them that, they are prompted to schedule a phone call with me so that we can talk over the phone, which I think is really important. If they don't get on the phone with me, they probably aren't going to book. That's very true in my business, at least. So I want them to get on the phone so they can hear my voice, listen to my personality, see if we click. I can see if they click with me. I can tell a lot from that phone call just as much as they can tell a lot from the phone call too. Also, sending them to that secret pricing page on my website, I think is way less clunky than a pricing PDF guide. I know a lot of people like pricing PDF guides. I used to use them in my own business, but I've opted for a hidden pricing page on my website. I found that to be so much more helpful. I think it's way more streamlined. I think it's just elegant and classy, and it's really easy to open. I've had problems opening PDFs before, so it's really nice to just have like a one click and then seeing everything and just letting people scroll for a long web page instead of like having to go through pages of a PDF. So that is my 2 cents on how to deliver your pricing once you do so. All right, I hope you found this episode helpful. Again, we talked about having multiple packages versus one package. I think multiple packages is the way to go. We talked about how to display this on your website. So we talked about whether or not to put pricing at all on your website or to put every single piece of your pricing on your website. I said you should probably opt for something in the middle, putting a starting or an average price on your website so people can see it easily and also just know if it's even worth reaching out to you. And then the third thing we talked about was after the inquiry, how you communicate with them, how you're communicating your value to them so that they're not just price shopping, and sending them to a private website page so it's really smooth. They can see all your pricing, all your information. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave a comment down below or give us a 5-star rating over on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review if you feel so generous. And those help us so much. Comments, reviews just help us so much to be seen by other listeners, other viewers. I love bringing this podcast to you guys, and I hope that this is helpful. Pricing is definitely a tricky topic, and it's definitely not as transparent as I would hope it would be in the wedding industry. So I hope this kind of peeled back the curtain, let you in on a little bit of what I do in my own business and how it's worked out really well for me. Before you go, make sure that you go back to the description and download the full-time photographer playbook we talked about at the very beginning. I go through my exact pricing formula and different considerations you should think about when determining your hourly rate. So that's really practical for you. And you'll find that in the description. It's an absolutely free download, and I think you're gonna really like it. All right, can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. Until then, have a great week.